All right, today we are doing word problem application with quadratics. Now that you know multiple ways to solve a quadratic, the first one we have is if the square of two consecutive integers are added. So what are we calling our first integer? Our first integer? X. And what would we call the second integer?
X plus 1.
Good. Okay, if the square of two consecutive integers are added, the result is 61. So, what are we doing here? The square of two consecutive integers are added, the result is 61. What am I doing? What do I have to do to the integers? We have to square them, right? So the first one we're going to square, and I have to square the second one. Right? We're going to have to square that. But it says they're added together. Does that make sense? Is 61. Then we have to double distribute this. So I get x squared plus, remember, what does that mean to double distribute? Does it mean I do this? No. This means we don't do this. We do not distribute the exponent. It means we distribute the entire binomial. Okay. And then it's x squared. Right? I can really do this. I'm going to get plus 1x plus 1x and plus 1 equals 0. So it'd be plus 2x plus 1 equals the 61. You guys with me? Really shouldn't be equal 0. Okay, next step. Next step, what would we do? Somebody, come on, wake up. I'm tired too. Nobody in here knows what to do next. Combine our like terms, right? It's 2x squared. What else could I do? What am I doing with the 61? Subtract it from both sides. Okay, I'm going to combine my like terms and subtract all in the same step. So, when I subtract 60 from both sides, 61, what do we get? Negative 60. It's 2x plus 2x. 2x squared plus 2x minus 60 is 0. Next step, we can factor or we can divide a 2 out. Do we need the 2 to be dangling on the side?
No.
So let's just divide a 2 from all terms. And we get, what do we get?
X squared
Plus x minus 30. And now we're going to do what our x marks the spot. What multiplies to negative 30 and adds to 1? Good. And so we get x plus 6 times x minus 5 equals 0. X is equal to what? Negative 6 or positive 5. Now, if x is 6, what would the second integer be? Sorry, if x is 5, the positive one is 5. If x is 5,
6.
it will be, the next one will be 6. So if it's 5, it's going to be 6. You guys with me? If x is negative 6, if x is negative 6, it's going to be negative 5. So we have 4 answers here. Because these are not consecutive, they're different places on the number line. So it would be negative 6, negative 5, or 5, 6. Okay? Questions? Pause the recording if you need to take notes. Okay, so let's see. Next one. The area of a rectangle area of a rectangle is 30 units less than the area of a triangle. So right away I'm going to create what they're saying, right? It says area of a rectangle is 30 less than triangle. What's that going to look like? Triangle minus 30. Now, what is the formula for a rectangle? Length times width. What's the formula for a triangle?
1/2.
And now we have to substitute. Okay, so on here we're going to do x times, I'm doing it backwards, width times length. X plus 4 equals 1/2 4x plus 6 minus the 30. And now I'm going to distribute. I get x squared plus 4x equals, what does that become?
That's just the base. You didn't multiply the height.
Oh yeah, times the height, which is x. Okay, when I distribute this, what does it become? 2x plus what?
3 times that.
Plus 3 when I distribute. And that whole thing gets multiplied by x, right? So now I'm going to do x squared plus 4x equals 2x squared plus 3x minus 30. And now let's put it all to one side. Are we good? I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint. Okay, now we are going to combine our like terms. Let's move everything to the right because I have the biggest x squared over there. So I'm going to subtract x squared, subtract 4x, and subtract, that's it. And we end up with x squared minus x plus minus 30. Pretty similar to the last one. So now we're going to do x marks the spot. What multiplies to negative 30 and adds to negative 1? Okay, so I get x minus 6 times x plus 5. You guys with me? Go back to the PowerPoint. Okay, and what are my solutions? Negative 5 and 6. Do both of those work to figure out what x is?
No.
Which one does not work? The negative 5. Now, there's different ways they can ask this. In this case, they are asking for the height of a triangle. They're asking for the height of the triangle, and that is x. So the height is 6 units, right? 6 units. But we could figure out what the base is. It'd be 4 times 6 plus 6, so that would be 30, right? And this would be 6 plus 4 is 10. And this would be 6. So if they ask for the dimensions of everything, we have the ability to find it. But they really only want this right now. Is everybody clear? We have to read go back to the question after you do the math and figure that out. Okay, can I continue? So our height is 6 units. Okay, have we done a picture frame question in here? All right. Okay, so here we go. Let's say that the first thing is we've got a frame measure that's 30 by 20. We know the outside of the frame is 30 by 20. The picture inside has an area of 416 square inches. Find the width of the frame. So what they're looking for is this. And is it safe to say that it's the same all the way around?
Yeah.
Right? They want to know what it is from the picture to the outside of the frame, that width of that frame. So let's say X stands for the frame's width. Okay? You with me? I would write this down, all steps. So X stands for the frame's width. And then let's talk about the length. The length of the actual, since we have the area for the picture, we're going to look for the other dimensions of the picture. So we don't know what the length here is, but what we do know is that the whole thing is 30. right? So the picture's length. So if the whole thing is 30, and what did we say? We're going to call this the width of the frame.
X.
So that's X and that's X. So what are we going to call just this part right here?
30 minus 2x.
30 minus 2x, exactly. 30 minus 2x. Okay. What do you think we would call the width of the picture?
20 minus 2x?
Yeah, because we know that this portion here is x, and this portion here is x, so we could say that this portion right in here is the total minus the 2x's, right? So it's 20 minus 2x is the picture width. Now, I know the length, I know the width, and I know the area. So we're going to use our area formula. So length times width equals 416. I'm going to double distribute. Okay? 30 times 20 is 600. 30 times 2x is plus 60. 2x plus 20 plus 60x, sorry. 2x plus minus 60x, sorry. Minus 60x. 2x minus 20 is minus 40x. And 2x minus 2x is plus 4x squared. So altogether that's 600 minus 100x plus 4x squared equals 416. Questions? Okay, next step. Next step. What do you think we'd do? What would we do, guys? Come on. What do I do with the 416? Right, we're going to subtract it from both sides, and let's flip it around so this is the first thing. Right? Let's make 4x squared over here minus 100x and put that 600 over here. Right? Whenever I subtract that, I'm going to move it around. It's negative 180. Okay, next step. What do we do, Jamie?
Divide all terms by 4.
Yeah, we can factor 4 or we can divide it out. Let's divide it out. Make it smaller. 4x divided by 4 is x squared. 100 divided by 4 is minus, we get that minus 25x. And 184 divided by 4 is 46. And now we're going to say what multiplies to 46 and what adds to negative 25. That's an easy one because it's only divisible, it has 4 factors. 1 itself. Yep. Negative 2 and negative 23. So this is x minus 2 times x minus 23 equals 0. So x is equal to 2 or 23. So what do you think the best possible answer is?
2.
Why would it not be 23?
Because the picture width is 20 already, so you can't have...
Right, and if I substituted 23 here, first of all, 2 times 23 would be 30 minus 46, which would be negative 16. You see how that doesn't work? Also, like what she said, what Gracie said, is that the width of the frame is not going to be bigger than the width of the whole thing. So, my best answer here is 2. The width of the frame is 2, and it's in inches. Okay? And it's saying find the width of the frame. But we do have the ability to find the picture's length, the picture's width, and so the width of the frame is 2 inches. Questions? All right, let's continue. All right. Hi. Sorry. Okay, so next, we are going to The hypotenuse of a right triangle is 20 inches. Okay? One of the legs of a right triangle is 4 inches longer than the other leg. Find the length of both legs. So, what are we calling the first? What can we label here?
The hypotenuse.
The hypotenuse is 20, right? What else can we label?
One of the legs.
One leg is?
X plus 4.
Okay, which one's going to be x plus 4? The longer one or the shorter one? And what do we call the original one? X. We'll call this x. And then they give us a translation for this. So one leg is 4 longer than the other. In comparison, we have to say the other one, we'll call it x. So now what are we going to do to find the length of both of those? If we want to find side length, what formula do we use?
A squared. Oh, A squared plus
What is that called?
C squared. Pythagorean.
Pythagorean theorem. So I'm doing, our a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Okay, and we're going to substitute it in. X squared plus the quantity of x plus 4 squared equals 20 squared. Remember when Nicole, what is this? I get x squared. What is this equal to?
It's equal to x squared plus 8 minus plus 16.
Okay, plus 8x, so we're going to get an x squared, good, plus 8x plus 4 equals 400.
Isn't it 16?
6. So, oh, yeah, okay, there we go. Yeah, sorry. 16, that's 400. Okay, so now we're going to combine our like terms and subtract 400. This becomes 2x squared plus 8x minus 384 equals 0. What would I do next? Divide everything by 2, and we get x squared plus 4x minus 192. Now, what adds to negative 192 and what multiplies to negative 192 and adds to 4? Now, think about this. It's 4 digits apart, right? This tells us how far away they are. So, it has to go to, what's the closest perfect square? What's the closest perfect square? 196. Okay, that is 14 squared. So what are we going to do with that? 14 squared. So it's close to 14 squared. It's 4 digits apart, and it has to end in a 2. So what numbers are you going to try? 13 and 17?
12 and 16.
Okay, 12 and 16, let's try it, because 13 and 17 would end in a 1, right? When you do 12 and 16, it's going to end in a 2. So 6 to 12, carry the 1, it's 6, it's 7, it's 0, it's 1, 2, it's 2, it's 9, it's 1. Perfect. So what is it, which one's positive, which one's negative?
Negative 16.
Negative 16. Negative 12. Good. And positive 16. And so my solutions are?
Negative 16 and 12.
Okay. Which one of those would be the correct answer?
12, because you can't
Why?
have negative distance.
Mm-hmm. So glad it's gotten in your heads. And so the smaller leg is 12, and this would be, and the larger leg, x plus 14?
16.
16. Okay, questions? Pause the recording if you want to keep taking notes. I'm recording. Okay. Find the dimensions of a rectangle whose perimeter is 38 inches and whose area is 84 square inches. So we know the perimeter is 38 And we know the area is 84, right? Okay. If the perimeter is 38, is it safe to say that half of it equals 19? That from here to here, it's 19, right? And from here to here, it's 19. Okay. So if we don't know what this is, what do we call it, the short side? X. And if we know that the whole part, if we know that the whole thing, right, from here to here is 19, what can we call that other part?
19 minus x.
19 minus x. You guys understand?
How'd you get 19?
Well, they said the perimeter, the whole thing around, is 38. So that means that half of it has to be 19. Okay? So we took the whole thing from here to here, all the way around. From here to here, it's 19. And if we call this x our unknown, then this is the whole minus that one piece. Does that make sense? All right? And we have a rectangle, and we're looking for area. So area equals length times width. And area is 84, and the length is x, or really the length is 19 minus x, but I like to write it this way. All right? I just kind of flip-flopped them. I did width times length. And then I get 84 equals 19x minus x squared. Let's add x squared, and let's subtract 19x. And add our x squared, and we get x squared minus 19x plus 84 equals 0. So what multiplies to 84 and adds to negative 19? That should be an easy one at your multiplication tables.
Negative 12 and negative 7.
So I'm doing x minus 12 times x minus 7 equals 84. So x is equal to what? Oops, equals 0, sorry. How did I do 80? Did that last time too. Equals 0. What do we do? X is equal to 12 or
7.
Now, they're both positive. It's not so easy to eliminate. But if it's 12, let's see if it makes sense. Okay, so this would be 19 minus 12 is 7. That would make this 7. And if x is 12, does that make sense? No, the shorter side can't be bigger. So it has to be the other one, which is 7. So if x is 7, and this would be 19 minus 7, so that would equal 12. That makes sense. So the answer is, find the dimensions. So the width is 7, it's in inches, 7 inches, and the length is what? 12 inches. Okay, questions? Let's see how they did it. They really set it up so that we... Okay, questions? All right, distance. Boat travels, miles. When you see the word miles, what formula comes to mind? Distance equals rate times time. Boat travels upstream and back. So, tell me what that says. Upstream and then back. Tell me what it says about the distance. Distance is the same. We're going to make a box. Okay, distance equals rate times time. And let's say R stands for, if the rate of the current is 2 miles per hour, the whole trip took 3.5 hours. Okay, so we're doing upstream and backstream. We're doing distance equals rate times time. What'd you say about the distance, guys? It's the same, and what is it? 12. Good. And then the rate. Now, going upstream, am I going with or against the current?
No.
Upstream,
No, again.
I'm going against. I'm swimming against water, like going uphill. You know when it's really hard to swim into the tide? That's against. So if the current is 2 miles per hour, what is the rate going to be?
X minus 2.
We're calling the rate R.
Oh, yeah, R.
So if I'm going upstream, what's the rate?
R.
The rate is R, but what if when I'm going upstream, included with the water, going against the water, what are we calling it? I'm going against the water. R minus 2. It's taking 2 miles an hour away, not adding more speed. Okay, so this would be R minus 2 when we're going upstream. Stop, honey. Okay, downstream, what's the water doing? Is it making us go faster or slower? It's faster. It's pushing us. So what's the rate going to be? R plus 2. Now, do we know the time? No. But we don't know their individual times. We only know the combined time, which is 3 1/5. Okay? So, remember, rate times time equals distance. To find the time, what do you have to do? Time is also equal to what? So it would be 12 over R minus 2. 12 over R plus 2. So my equation is 12 over R minus 2 plus 12 over R plus 2 equals 3 1/5. Okay, can I take that onto a different page? Pause it and finish writing the... Okay, let's go on to... I'm going to take that equation and we're going to solve it. All right, so we turn 3 1/5 into 16 over 5. Now what would we do? Go, Brianne.
Find the lowest common denominator.
Which would be?
5 times quantity of R minus 2 times quantity of R.
Correct. 5 times R plus 2 times R minus 2. When I distribute here, what do I have? 12 times 5 times R plus 2. Okay? And 12 times 5 is 60. Do you understand why they're getting 60? Mm-hmm. Okay, now when I distribute here, what do I get? The R plus 2 cancels, and we're left with 5 times 12, which is 60, plus 60 times R minus 2. I'm going to cross cancel these, and then we're really left with 16 times this. Right? So let's first say this is R squared minus 4. Right? These two cross cancel. I'm going to that's us multiplying 16/5 times that. And then we're left with 16 times R squared. We get 16R squared minus 64. Did I do too much all at once? I multiplied these first. I cross canceled these. And then I'm left with 16 times that result. Do you understand? Let's see what my PowerPoint did. 16, they just cross-canceled, and then they... Okay, now we're going to distribute here. It's 60R minus 120 plus 60R minus 120. Sorry, that was plus 120 minus 120. This is going to be 16R squared minus 64. Remember, we just did that? 16R squared minus 64. The 60R's make 120R. These two cancel out. set it all equal to 0. And now what can we do? Does 16 go into 120? I know we can divide by 4. I can divide by 4, 4, so I get r squared, 4r squared minus 30r minus 16. So I can't divide by 16. I can divide by another 2. So I could have divided everything by 8. Okay? And then I end up with 2r squared minus 15r minus 8 equals 0. Now we can use quadratic formula. We can factor. We can... What do you guys want to do? Well, I guess we'll do what let's do what my PowerPoint does. What'd you say? What do you want to do?
Complete the square.
Complete the square. Would this be something you naturally would complete the square with?
No.
Why? But why? Why would you not want to complete the square? It's not the lead coefficient. Oh, yeah. Well, the lead coefficient would be tough, but you have an odd number in the middle. So when you complete the square, I'm just going to kind of get us started. I think this is too complicated of a trinomial. I get 2r squared minus 15r, divide by 2, and then divide by 2, I get 4 equals r squared minus 15 over 2r. Now 15 over 2, we have to divide it by 2, so that means multiply by a half and then square it. That's why I wouldn't do it, because I'm going to have an odd number, and why give myself more fractions? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see the way they chose to do it. I think they're just factoring. Let's do lead coefficient factoring. We haven't done it in a while. So how do we lead coefficient factor? We have to multiply 2 by negative 8. Remember, we multiplied by 2. So I get what multiplies to negative 16. It's r squared minus 15r minus 16. What multiplies to negative 16 and adds to negative 15?
1 is negative 16.
Good. So I get r plus 1 times r minus 16 equals 0. Now what do I have to do? Not yet. Remember, we multiplied by 2. We have to divide it by 2. Do you remember that? So I'm going to divide by 2, divide by 2. I end up with 2r plus 1, right? And this becomes r minus 8 equals 0. So 2r plus 1 equals 0, and r minus 8 equals 0. That's add 8, and r equals to 8. Subtract 1, 2r equals negative 1, divide by 2, divide by 2. So r equals negative 1/2, or r equals 8. What's the better choice? 8. Can I erase?
Yeah.
So we get r equals 8. Let's go back to that. They're going to do all this.
Yeah, how did you know which is the better choice?
Because it's not going to be, speed is not going to be negative. When I had r equals 1/2. Okay, go back to here. Go back to our boxes. Just remember, if they're looking for the speed of the boat with no current, it's 8.
Okay.
If they ask for us the speed of upstream, it's 8 minus 2, which is 6. If they ask for us going downstream, where it's pushing us, going faster, it's going to be 10. So we have the ability to find everything. Are there any questions? Does anybody want me to go back to that factoring? Are we good? Noah, do you need anything? No. Okay. And that's it for the lesson today. And we're out.